Hey guys. Well, it's Wednesday night youth group time. That means Mad for Christ is alive and well, doesn't it? Hey, I don't know if you guys were watching on Facebook. I have to apologize because I was using all of my friends on Facebook as a sort of social experiment. What happened was we were talking with some friends over the weekend. Excuse me while I straighten my camera up here. We were talking with friends over the weekend, and we mentioned somebody who seems to post topics from both sides of a particular issue, okay? And it got me thinking about something, and that's what I did. So if you've noticed my last 5 posts on Facebook, and if you haven't seen them, this sermon will make a lot more sense if you just go back into my Facebook page, Kevin Peets, and look at the last few posts I did. And just to bring you up to speed, what I did is I posted a couple of posts where some people were getting beat up by people of another color. And then I posted some posts where I think I did a post where a police officer did something. I did a post where people were protecting a police officer from people that wanted to hurt him. And then I did a couple of posts about police officers going above and beyond and helping people of another color. And I did this intentionally. I did white people hurting black people hurting white people, black people helping white people helping black people, and police officers helping people. And I did that intentionally. I wanted to see what I would get, and I kind of knew what I was going to get. The first one, I did a video of a white guy getting beat up by 3 black guys. And of course there were trolls on both sides, the video's old or whatever their particular issue was with the video. This, whatever, do justice or whatever it was. And then there was some where a white guy was getting hit by a black guy, and what did he say, what happened. And I guess I was somewhat disappointed by some of the comments I saw, but I guess I should have expected it. It was a difficult week sitting here watching comments go back and forth. Friends of mine that I'm friends with start arguing with one another, and that wasn't my intent, but I should have known that would have been the result, because these are pretty hot topics right now. But my sermon today is about unity, okay? And I think we could all use a good discussion in unity, couldn't we? I saw particular people comment only if it was a black person being hurt. I saw people only comment if it was a white person being hurt. I saw people only comment if it was a police officer doing good or bad. And those are all, I guess the word I'm looking for is, those should have all called for a response of some sort. And it's unfortunate that so many people only are concerned about a particular color. And it's really troubling for me when I've been in the military. I grew up on a military base as a child, had several friends who were black, Paul Hendry, Chris Ransom, a kid in 2nd grade, I can't remember his name. He was black, I'm white, and we decided to switch desks one day. I think it was the 2nd grade, to trick the teacher. And it's kind of a silly story now, but I wish that we could still see things that way as adults. I really do. But we really thought we had her tricked because we switched hats, stocking caps, when we came in from recess. I remember it pretty clearly because I thought we had her. And she knew right away, obviously. But I wish we could be more like that. The list goes on and on of friends I've had. Dury Hunter, Chris Ransom, I don't know if you mentioned Chris, Vanessa Ransom, Sharon Richardson. Clayton was a great kid. I coached him in football. Michael Jones. And I want to just go into this a bit here about unity. The Bible calls for unity. If we think about unity, in the concept of the Bible and how God created us to be, God created us to live in unity. If you look at God in the Trinity, you got God the Father, the Son, and the Spirit, and they have lived in unity for eternity, the three of them. And they bring each other great pleasure, they fulfill each other's needs, and it's the perfect form of unity. And God created us to enter into that unity. In fact, when Adam and Eve were created, they were created to live in unity with God and to live as one. In fact, when all the way up till they sinned in the Garden of Eden and were kicked out of the garden, they could talk directly to God, and God could see them and they could see God. Excuse me, it was after the sin that they were exiled from the garden, and now whenever God speaks to man, it's through a shroud of some sort, either cloud or fire or some other form. And if we go on in unity, we can look at the Israelites, how God tried again with mankind and worked with the Israelites and wanted community with them and unity. So much so that he gave them a list of rules. If they could follow them, they could continue to live in unity with God. But the Israelites were just like Adam and Eve, and we're no different today. If you look at the Israelites and what they did, they continued to create rules, and then within their own group, they ostracized particular groups of people that couldn't worship God the same way the rest of the group could, and it just falls apart. And today we're no different. That's the beauty of studying the Bible in the Old Testament, is through the Israelites we're able to see our faults. And sometimes it's easier to see your fault when you look at it through another person. And that's kind of what I'm learning through the Old Testament, is we're exactly like the Israelites were, and maybe even are today, is this continuing quest to get close to God. You get closer, then you do something and you stumble and you fall backwards. And this went on for the Israelites for years, decades, centuries, to the point where God had to come to earth in the form of Jesus Christ. When God came to earth in the form of Jesus Christ, Jesus required unity, requested unity, in fact got unity from everyone around him. If you look at the disciples, within that group, Jesus chose tax collectors, prostitutes, zealots, and others. And they were all called to do one job, and that wasn't to battle red and blue, black and white, left and right. The job was to take the gospel and share it with everyone around them. And that even include the Samaritans. And in fact, one of Jesus's, Samaritans were that outside group that couldn't worship with the Israelites. And one of Jesus's deepest conversations in the New Testament is with a Samaritan woman at a well. And Jesus talked about a centurion soldier and talked fondly of him. Within his own disciple, Jesus protected a prostitute from stoning to death and allowed her into a group of his own. And then within his disciples, he had Matthew, who was a tax collector, and not like a tax collector today. You need to understand what was happening when we say tax collector. What was happening was, this is a person who really kind of became a friend of the Roman Empire, and the Romans were invaders. They invaded Israel and just took over. And I'm sure that within the group of Israel, if you were to poll the population of the day, I'm sure there were people that were okay with it because the Romans brought some technology with them, running water, sewer, that sort of thing, and protection. But on the other hand, they required a lot of tax money, and they were very vicious in the way they treated the occupants of the land. So you have Matthew, who is now collecting taxes on behalf of the Roman Empire and could be looked at as somebody who's friendly with the Romans. In fact, he probably was, because most tax collectors needed to collect a certain amount of tax to fulfill their duty, but then they would collect more than was needed in order to pay their own way, and they lived a little too well. They upset the people around them, and they collected more than was needed and were often some of the wealthiest people in the community. And then on the other hand, you had Matthew here, okay, on this side, and then on the other side, you had Levi, who was a zealot, and quite the opposite of Matthew. Levi was somebody who was absolutely and totally opposed to the Roman occupation of Israel. So much so that he would protest and even resort to violence to see that Rome was removed from Israel. So even Jesus selected people that were on opposite sides, blue, red, left, right, however you want to look at it. And they came together and they worked together, because nowhere in the New Testament do I read about Matthew and Levi, having a wrestling match over a comment that one or the other made. Or nowhere in the New Testament do I read that Matthew and Levi ended up battling each other or standing in front of each other, refusing to move because they weren't going to budge on their left or right viewpoint. In fact, quite the opposite, you read nothing about them. And that tells me that they had an unremarkable relationship, very harmonious, you could assume. Because the Bible is full, the New Testament is full of verses and stories where the disciples are rebuked for their poor behavior in front of Jesus. On many occasions, they're rebuked by Jesus for their human nature and their human behavior, where Jesus just can't let it go. So I'm pretty confident that if Matthew and Levi had an issue, that we would be reading about it in the New Testament, because the disciples were painfully honest in their historical and history and how they kept the books and how their behavior was rebuked by Jesus. So if we look at the Bible and the Old Testament and the Israelites and Adam and Eve and God and the Trinity, and now even into the New Testament and Jesus within his disciples and what unity looks like, we get an idea that a lot of what's going on in the world probably is intentional, and that there's other forces at work that are wanting us to be at odds with one another. And even within our church, I know there's a lack of unity. When we sent a survey out, we had a survey for when we should restart after COVID experience here. And there were people that thought we should have never stopped. There were people that thought we should have started already. And then there's people that say it's too early, we're not coming back yet. So there's a lack of unity there. I don't know if it's to the degree where we're going to throw sticks and rocks at each other yet, but you can just see that disunity or a lack of unity is fairly common. But it's real troubling for me when it comes to race. I have family members in my family that are black, and I just have no time for the disunity. If somebody was to do what I've seen done, either in the press or some of the comments I've seen on Facebook, to any of my family members that are black or white, I would be appalled. I would be very angry. And that's saying it mildly. And I think, unfortunately, that too many people are caught in a bubble, and they don't realize what's at work here. They don't realize how important it is for unity, right? Whether you're religious or not, you have to agree that getting along is incredibly important, and that divisive behavior only spawns divisive behavior. Being evil doesn't have a color. Being mean doesn't have a color, however you want to look at it. And that was the reasoning for those videos and the way I did them. Because so many people are caught on this skin condition right now. They're just fixating on this skin condition, when in reality what it is heart disease. And by that I mean, we tend to look at the outside and who's doing what, and you can look at it either way, but I saw enough comments or likes for one set of videos and not the other from just about everybody in my Facebook friend group, and a lot of people stayed quiet on it. I'm sure my senior pastor and trustee was kind of worried when they were seeing the videos or the photos, but to their credit, they let me do my thing, and I never got a comment either way from anyone like, what are you doing, what's going on, because I try not to get too political. But it really was troubling when I posted pictures from one color or the other, and depending who the instigator was, that triggered somebody to comment something or like something or whatever the case was, and it was very troubling. Because like I said, I've got a brother-in-law and I've got nieces and nephews that I cherish dearly, and to think that somebody in my friend group could say or do or have a viewpoint just because of their skin color is it's disturbing, to say the least. And I think what we need to do is really take a moment, look at the comments or the likes you gave, and why not be equally as pleased when you see a different race do something good? Why not be equally distraught when you see your own race do something poor? Or when you see, because for too many people, from what I saw in this little social experiment I did, and is so many people are only concerned about what the other guy did or the other colored guy did. And that's not the unity that God has in store for us. In fact, if I read in Psalm 133, it says here, how good and pleasant it is when brothers live together in unity. And brothers could also be, the word brothers could also be used as God's people, but in this case I just leave it as brothers, because kind of in that case I want to really talk more about us as people and how good it is when we live together in unity. And you see what unity can bring, you just want it more. You know, I look at the unity that we have within our family, black and white, and it's just wonderful. I look at the unity that some of the marriages I've seen around me that are black and white or white and brown, and it warms my heart. It brings a very warm feeling to my heart. But Jesus knew that there wouldn't be unity. In fact, he even prays for it here. He prays for all believers. In John 17, he says, my prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one. Father, just as you are in me and I am in you, may they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. I have given them glory that you gave me, that they may be one as we are one. I in them and you in me. May they be brought to complete unity to let the world know that you sent me. Jesus knew that there would be disunity within the church, and he obviously knew that there'd be disunity within mankind, because it was going on then and it's going on today. We can't change the world. We can't get rid of the heart disease that the world has. But we can change ourselves. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but if we work within ourselves and within our families, we can make a big difference in the world. And I think that's what I want us to focus on today, is what can I do to make the world a better place? What can I do to make the people around me know that I love them? And I'm not worried about skin color. I don't care if the person's white, black, brown, red, green, yellow, purple. I want you to show love, because I think truly showing love is the greatest way to start unity. Okay? I want you guys to think about that a bit. I was using Psalm 133 and John 17. So if you want to read those, you can read those for yourselves and maybe pray over those two particular parts of the Bible. In the meantime, I want you to take care of yourselves, show God's love to the world so that they may know that God sent you to share the gospel with them. In the meantime, take care. We love you guys. Can't wait to see you guys in August.